beneath the radiant sun that bathes the sparkling waters of the Aegean Sea, where the waves kiss rugged cliffs and ancient olive groves whisper tales of long-forgotten times, there emerged a civilization that would forever captivate the imagination of historians, archaeologists, and myth-seekers alike. This was the Minoan civilization, a maritime empire born on the island of Crete, whose brilliance and mystery still echo through the corridors of time, challenging our understanding of ancient human achievement. To truly grasp the magnitude of the Minoan civilization, we must journey back over 4,000 years into a world vastly different yet strangely connected to our own. The seas then were not borders, but highways, weaving together a network of islands, peninsulas, and distant lands into a vibrant tapestry of commerce, culture, and myth. Crete, the largest jewel in this watery necklace, was more than just an island. It was a crossroads where the ancient world's most powerful and mysterious currents converged. Around 3000 BCE, early farming communities dotted the landscapes of Crete. These settlements, humble at first, began a gradual transformation, evolving into bustling hubs of trade, religion, and governance. By the second millennium BCE, the Minoans had risen to prominence, shaping a civilization that dazzled with its artistic genius, architectural innovation, and seafaring mastery. What set the Minoans apart was their extraordinary relationship with the sea. Unlike the often brutal and expansionist empires that would dominate later periods, the Minoans cultivated power through diplomacy, trade, and cultural exchange. Their fleets of sleek, agile ships traversed the Mediterranean, carrying treasures such as gold, ivory, finely crafted pottery, vibrant textiles, and exotic spices. Through these maritime arteries, the Minoans spread their influence far beyond the shores of Crete, reaching Egypt, the Levant, Anatolia, and the Greek mainland. At the core of this flourishing civilization stood the great palaces, monumental centers of power, religion, and economy. Chief among them was the Palace of Knossos, a sprawling complex that remains one of the most enigmatic archaeological sites in the world. Far from mere royal residences, these palaces functioned as nerve centers of an intricate society, complete with administrative offices, storage facilities, ceremonial halls, and labyrinthine corridors that have inspired legends for millennia. The architecture of Knossos and its sister palaces reveals a culture deeply invested in complexity and symbolism. Multi-storied buildings with advanced plumbing and drainage systems hint at remarkable engineering, while the colorful frescoes that adorn their walls burst with life and meaning. Scenes of acrobats leaping over bulls, priestesses adorned in elaborate garments, and nature motifs, such as lilies and dolphins, speak to a society that celebrated both the sacred and the sensual. Art was not merely decorative for the Minoans, it was a language. Their pottery, with its intricate designs of marine life and abstract patterns, conveyed stories and beliefs. The gold jewelry, delicate yet powerful, symbolized status and divine connection. Even their tools and weapons were crafted with an eye for beauty and function, blending art and utility in a way that few ancient cultures could match. Central to Minoan spirituality was the reverence for nature and fertility. The bull, a symbol of virility and strength, was central to religious rites and royal iconography. The famous bull-leaping frescoes capture a ritual both thrilling and dangerous, where young athletes vaulted over charging bulls in ceremonies that fused athleticism, faith, and perhaps initiation into adulthood or priesthood. Yet, despite the richness of their material culture, so much about the Minoans remains cloaked in mystery. Their writing system, linear, defies modern scholars. Despite decades of study, it remains undeciphered, a tantalizing code that guards the secrets of governance, religion, and daily life. Without this key, We rely on archaeological context, comparative linguistics, and myth to piece together their story. Speaking of myth, the figure of King Minos looms large, a name that echoes through history and legend alike. According to ancient tales, Minos was a powerful and just ruler whose court was both splendid and terrifying. He was said to have commissioned the Labyrinth, a twisting maze designed to imprison the monstrous Minotaur, a creature born of divine fury and human folly. This myth, deeply entwined with the Minoan world, offers a glimpse into how the ancients understood the interplay of power, religion, and fear. Was Minos a real ruler, or a symbolic figure embodying the authority of the Minoan elite? Was the labyrinth a physical structure, or a metaphor for the complex social and religious fabric of Crete? These questions invite us to look beyond the surface, to see the layers of meaning embedded in myth and archaeology. Beyond the palaces and myths, the Minoans were a people of remarkable sophistication. Their society likely featured a powerful priesthood, skilled artisans, and traders who spoke multiple languages and navigated complex political landscapes. While some scholars speculate about a centralized monarchy, others argue for a more distributed system of governance, perhaps a confederation of palace-states united by culture and commerce. Their religion, while centered on mother goddesses and fertility symbols, also embraced a pantheon of mysterious deities and spirits, many of whom remain unknown to us. Rituals involving sacred caves, peak sanctuaries, and elaborate ceremonies hint at a spiritual life deeply connected to nature and the cycles of life and death. The sea, ever-present and powerful, shaped every aspect of Minoan existence. It was a source of sustenance, a highway for trade, and a force of destruction. The Minoans' mastery over the sea allowed them to thrive, but it also exposed them to dangers from rival powers and natural disasters. Indeed, as their influence grew, so did the envy and hostility of neighboring civilizations. The Mycenaeans, emerging from the Greek mainland, watched with increasing interest and ambition. Their eventual clash with the Minoans would mark a turning point in ancient history, a collision of cultures, technologies, and destinies. Yet, the decline of the Minoans remains shrouded in enigma. Was it the wrath of the gods? A catastrophic volcanic eruption on the nearby island of Thera? Invasions by foreign powers? Internal strife? The truth is likely a complex weave of all these factors, a drama of nature and humanity that sealed the fate of a civilization that once dazzled the ancient world. As we stand today amidst the ruins of Knossos and other Minoan sites, we are reminded of both the fragility and brilliance of human endeavor. The Minoans left behind a legacy of art, architecture, and myth that continues to inspire and mystify. Their story is a labyrinth itself, complex, beautiful, and full of secrets waiting to be uncovered. The legend of the Labyrinth and the Minotaur is woven deeply into the tapestry of the ancient world, a myth that has transcended the centuries and become a symbol of the mysteries that shroud the Minoan civilization. Yet to understand its power, one must journey not only into the twisting corridors of Knossos, but also into the psychological, spiritual, and historical labyrinths that define the fate of Crete's lost empire. Imagine standing in the shadow of the palace at Knossos as the sun sets, casting long golden beams across the weathered stones. The air is thick with anticipation and the echoes of countless rituals. Somewhere below, in the heart of the labyrinth, a beast paces, half man, half bull, born from the union of divine will and mortal hubris. The Minotaur, trapped within endless corridors, is both a monster and a victim, a symbol of chaos held at bay by the order of the Labyrinth and the rule of King Minos. But what was the true nature of this maze? Archaeologists have uncovered vast palace complexes at Knossos, Phaistos, Malea, and Zakros, each a marvel of Bronze Age engineering. Corridors twist and turn, stairways double back on themselves, and chambers open into rooms with no clear purpose. To walk these ruins today is to feel the ghost of confusion, a sense that these palaces were designed to bewilder and awe, to protect secrets and to stage mysteries. Some scholars believe the labyrinth was not a single place, but a metaphor for the entire palace system and the complex society that built it. The Minotaur myth, too, may be more than a story of monsters. The bull was sacred to the Minoans, a symbol present in countless frescoes, seal stones, and ritual objects. Bull leaping, depicted in vivid color on palace walls, was a real practice, an athletic and possibly religious event where acrobats grasped the horns of charging bulls, vaulting over their backs in a dance with death. Was this a rite of passage? A ceremony to appease the gods? Or was it a living metaphor for confronting the wild, untamed forces within the human soul? These rituals, blending athleticism, faith, and spectacle, reveal a society that sought harmony with nature's power rather than dominance over it. The Minoan priestesses, depicted in art as powerful, elaborately robed women, suggest a culture where female divinity and authority were central. In the sacred caves and mountain sanctuaries, offerings were made to goddesses of fertility and the earth, and to the mysterious bull god who mediated between the mortal and divine. Yet, beneath this surface of order, beauty, and ritual, there were forces gathering that would one day shatter the world of the Minoans. The Aegean was a crossroads not only of trade, but of ambition and rivalry. To the north and west, the Mycenaeans, warrior kings of mainland Greece, grew in power. Their citadels rose on rocky hills, defended by walls of Cyclopean stone and garrisons of armed men. To the east, the Hittite Empire flexed its muscles, and to the south, Egypt watched the shifting balance of power with wary eyes. The Minoans, for all their sophistication, left little evidence of armies or fortifications. Their power was the sea, the thalassocracy, or rule of the waves. Their ships sailed as far as Cyprus and the Levant, carrying goods and ideas. Some believe this naval dominance kept Crete safe for centuries, but it also made them vulnerable, for the sea can betray as quickly as it protects. Signs of trouble began to appear around 1600 BCE. Earthquakes, common in the region, toppled palaces and temples. But the greatest blow was yet to come. On the island of Thera, modern Santorini, a volcano erupted with almost unimaginable force. The explosion sent ash high into the atmosphere, darkening skies as far as Egypt and Anatolia. Tsunamis swept across the Aegean, smashing ports and flooding fertile plains. The Minoans, so dependent on the sea, were devastated. The aftermath of Thera's eruption is still debated by scholars. Some argue that it fatally weakened the Minoan economy, destroying crops and trade routes. Others suggest it shattered the religious confidence of the people, as temples and sacred sites were buried or destroyed. In the ruins, some see evidence of desperate repairs, walls hastily rebuilt, new shrines erected to placate angry gods. But the old certainty was gone. It was in this moment of vulnerability that the Mycenaeans made their move. Archaeological evidence shows a sudden influx of Mycenaean goods and practices on Crete around 1450 BCE. Linear B tablets, an early form of Greek, begin to replace the undeciphered linear. Fortifications appear at palace sites, and the art shifts toward more martial themes. Was this a violent conquest, a gradual infiltration, or the result of internal strife? The answer remains elusive, hidden beneath the layers of ash and time. As the palaces fell, the labyrinth itself was abandoned to silence. The great halls of Knossos became the haunt of ghosts and legend. Yet the myth of the Labyrinth and the Minotaur endured, passed down by poets and travelers, woven into the fabric of Greek and later Western culture. In this transformation, the Minoans themselves became myth, an echo from a world half remembered and half invented. But the story does not end with the fall. The legacy of the Minoans survived in ways both visible and subtle. Their art, with its marine motifs and vibrant colors, inspired the Mycenaeans and, through them, the Greeks. Their religious imagery, goddesses with raised arms, sacred bulls, the double axe or labyrinth, appears in later cults and myths. Even the Labyrinth found new life in the tales of Theseus, Ariadne, and Daedalus, recast as a test of bravery and cunning. For centuries, the ruins of Knossos lay buried and forgotten, their secrets guarded by the earth. When Sir Arthur Evans began excavations in the early 20th century, he found not only walls and frescoes, but a mirror to the ancient imagination. The names he gave, King Minos, the throne room, the Hall of the Double Axes, were drawn from myth as much as from science. His reconstructions, though controversial, brought the Minoans back to life in the modern mind. Today, the enigma of the Minoans remains. Linear age still defies translation, its scripted code waiting to be broken. The exact nature of their religion, their political structure, even their language, are all subjects of debate. Each new discovery, whether a golden seal stone, a buried fresco, or a fragment of pottery, raises new questions. Did the Minoans possess knowledge lost to time? Were they the source of the Atlantis legend, Plato's tale of a mighty civilization swallowed by the sea? Theories abound, from the plausible to the fantastical. Some researchers speculate about advanced engineering skills, lost rituals, or even contacts with distant lands. Others focus on the role of women in Minoan society, suggesting a matriarchal system or at least a society where priestesses held unusual power. The presence of sacred caves and mountaintop shrines hints at a spirituality deeply tied to the earth and sky, a worldview both ancient and surprisingly modern. Yet for all these mysteries, the most enduring legacy of the Minoans may be the sense of wonder they inspire. Their world was one of color, movement, and life. A world where art and nature danced together, where the boundaries between myth and reality were blurred, and where the most profound truths were hidden in plain sight. The Labyrinth, then, is not just a place, but a metaphor, a symbol of the human quest for knowledge, the twists and turns of discovery, and the courage to face the unknown. The Minotaur, too, is not only a monster, but a reflection of our own fears and desires, the shadows we must confront on the journey through history. In the end, to walk the halls of Knossos, to gaze upon the frescoes, to trace the patterns of linear, is to become part of a story that began thousands of years ago and is still being written. The Minoans invite us to explore, to question, and to marvel at the beauty and complexity of the past. As the sun sets over the ruins, the stones seem to whisper of forgotten rituals, lost songs, and the eternal dance of light and shadow. The labyrinth calls. Will you enter?